Thanks everyone, and thanks for coming in. I'm going to embrace the moment that normally the CEO who took over from my role a couple of years ago would do this, but he got married on the weekend, and so I had to step in because the wife wanted to go on a honeymoon. For those that don't know, batyr was an elephant in Kazakhstan, and it used to say 20 human phrases in Russian. It was literally giving a voice to the elephant in the room. Batyr's program focused on addressing the issues that impact the mental health of young people by promoting resilience and help-seeking behaviours. In this room about 4 years ago, I presented to the audience similar to this, that in 2012 there were 2,500 suicides in Australia, a 10-year high. I wish I could stand here tonight and tell you a more positive story. In 2015, there were over 3,000 suicides in Australia. And for every completed suicide, there's an estimated 30 attempts, 8 suicides a day. I want to share with you a personal story that happened to me a few years ago. I came home late one night, and as an avid social media lover, I jumped on with my Facebook followers. And I saw something that really alarmed me. It was a good friend of mine, Brian, who I knew had a long history with mental illness. He posted a photo with a quote that made my heart stop. I hesitated to act. I didn't know what to do. I started calling him, and there was no response. I started speaking at pace with my brother on the other side of the world, and I still struggled with the answers. Then I called the police. It was about 2 a.m. I couldn't drive because I'd been drinking, so I woke up my housemate and we headed out to where I thought he would be. I remember running across the bridge calling out his name, of heading down to the bottom knowing what may potentially await me. Running across the field, my body shaking, I dropped to my knees for the fear of the reality that lay ahead. It was a sickening feeling, and one I wouldn't wish upon anyone. I was back in my car when I got a call from the police. That night we were fortunate. My mate was safe. Brian and I have spoken about his journey and experience with mental illness, and I'm so grateful to know that his journey of recovery and hope and moving into further education and employment has been fostered through Batyr's Being Heard program. And he is currently being heard in schools and universities across Australia, sharing such a positive story of adversity and resilience. But despite the statistics, help-seeking levels in Australia and young people in particular remain below 30%. Yet 75% of all mental illness begins before the age of 25. We need to create an environment where it is okay to reach out for support. What do you think is the biggest barrier stopping people from seeking help? Stigma and shame. Mental health research has shown that the most powerful way to create behavioural change around this stigma is through the sharing of experiences from peers. This is exactly what Batyr does. We train young people like Brian about how their story is the most powerful tool to stigma reduction and increasing help-seeking rates. And it is these young people, these incredible stories that need your support tonight. I have the honour of introducing my former head of school, Sam DeSano. He was the first teacher to welcome Batyr into the school walls, and in an amazing twist, has left the school education system to join Batyr to implement our cause. Sammy?
Thank you. Look, I always thought that storytelling is such a powerful tool, and the story that you've heard tonight and will hear has had an incredible impact already. That call for help in the midst of so much adversity and tragedy has given rise to an organisation that in only 6 short years has had a huge impact on so many people. Seb's got more stats to give you. But it's also impacted on individuals' lives and my life in a personal and positive way as well. I first met Seb as a skinny, strawberry blonde kid in my former life as his head of school. And not much has changed. In fact, he still has trouble tucking his shirt in. Back then he had an uncanny ability to find reasons not to be in class, more so than any other student. And so I took an instant interest in him. And I fondly remember too the day that he came back to the school with what seemed a fairly harebrained idea to create a not-for-profit built by young people for young people. in order to tackle this so-called elephant in the room. And from then it seems that our life journeys have kept intersecting. And last year I retired from full-time school leadership and teaching. And as personal stories go, and their impact on other people, my experience went from initially backing that crazy idea and implementing the program, seeing the transformation that it had on our school community, to me realising that it has the potential to do so much more right across the country. And that hope and that potential, I think, is the reason why I reconnected with batyr. And I think I said to Seb, in fact, no, I said to my wife, that if I was going to reconnect and rejoin the workforce, I wanted to be involved in something just as noble as what I'd left. And I guess after 30 years of teaching, what I've learnt to appreciate the most about young people like him and others is their passion for a cause and their commitment for a hope-filled future. And essentially, that's why I went to batyr looking for a job. I'll leave you with a ghastly thought. I wear my batyr budgie smugglers ocean swimming every morning down to Manly. I'm sorry for the mental image, but I proudly tell batyr's story to anyone curious to ask me about the big elephant that's plastered across my backside. Personally, that gives me a great amount of satisfaction working with such an inspirational story like his and like so many others. And for me, they're two great reasons to get out of bed every morning. Thanks.
The journey of batyr certainly has not been a lonely one. To date, we've been able to train over 250 young people, share their personal story and reach over 55,000 young people in schools and universities across Australia. Tonight, though, is what it's about. If we're able to raise $25,000 here tonight, we can train another 25 young people to learn how to share their story, and those 25 will have a direct impact on 6,000 young people. And for those that do the maths, you can multiply. But if we hit 40,000, just to stretch you, we can reach over 10,000 young people. Our aim by 2020 as an organisation is to train over 2,000 young people and reach and impact over 400,000 young people across Australian schools and universities. We create the culture that we live in. It takes courage to do it, to stand up and challenge our beliefs, but nothing will change if we sit still. Thank you.